Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Welcome to Module 154. I want to just remind you we're in the same textbook starting in Chapter 12. We're continuing with the CPT manual, and we'll only be using the CPT manual for most parts. I mean, sometimes there may be some ICD-10 codes, and you guys are more than welcome to do those. If you have not been through ICD-10 coding, please disregard the ICD-10 problems, excuse me. This is a 40-day module, which may seem like, oh, we have lots of time. Well, we do, but there's a ton of information. So please do not get behind. This is your first mini lesson. We're going to begin talking about Chapter 12, Anesthesia. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So Chapter 12, Anesthesia. The anesthesiologist is a physician whose medical specialty is anesthesia. These specialists are often members of outside practices who report their services separately. So what does that mean? Well, have you ever been to the hospital and then once you get your hospital bill, you get a lab bill, an anesthesiologist bill, maybe a cardiologist bill? It's because some of those things are billed separately outside of the hospital. They're contracted by the hospital, and a lot of times those are anesthesiologists. Excuse me. I'm still trying to get over my junk that I had last week. So let's talk about the uses of anesthesia. Use of anesthesia creates a state of analgesia, which means the absence of pain, that allows the patient to have surgery or another procedure performed without experiencing pain. The anesthesiologist's job is to administer medication that will induce general, regional, local, or conscious sedation in the patient while managing the life functions of the unconscious patient and directing respiratory or cardiac resuscitation efforts. So let's consider this. If a patient suffers cardiac arrest while on the operating table, why is the anesthesiologist the one to manage the problems associated with the resuscitation? So just by reading our little synopsis up here, we know that the anesthesiologist's job is to manage the life functions. So if a patient suffers cardiac arrest while on the operating table, why is the anesthesiologist the one to manage the problems associated with the resuscitation? He or she is responsible for management of the patient while under anesthesia. Okay, next we're going to talk about 3 types of anesthesia: general, regional, and local. It is very, very important that you know the difference in these types of anesthesia. Let's talk about methods of anesthesia. This figure shows one method of delivering general anesthesia. It's endotracheal anesthesia, and it's accomplished by inserting a tube into the nose or mouth and delivering a gaseous drug through the tube. So you can see the tube being inserted, and it actually gives you the different parts of the tube. General anesthesia is needed with a major procedure. General anesthesia is needed with a major procedure. Regional. Regional anesthesia involves blocking the nerve supply to a part of the body in order to eliminate pain. It is produced by a field block, forming a wall of anesthesia around the site by means of local injections or nerve block, injection of the nerves close to the site. So your regional is done by injection, and it blocks the pain around the region that they're working on. So let's talk about local. Local is an application of anesthesia to the area. It's an injection or topical cream. So here you can see the needle. With local anesthesia, an anesthetic agent, such as lidocaine, is directly applied to the area involved as a topical anesthesia or is administered by local infiltration through a subcutaneous injection. Okay, so again, you can see the needle is only going into the top layer of the tissue. For example, if you needed to have stitches, they're going to use a local. So let's talk about PCA, patient-controlled anesthesia. When the patient presses a button, a predetermined amount of prescribed drug is released. The patient controls the amount and frequency of the drug administered. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let's talk about moderate conscious sedation and what that is. The patient controls his or her airway and can respond to verbal commands. General renders the patient unconscious, decreased level of consciousness. And you need to report this with a 99151 through a 99157. Codes are divided by age or time. Provided by physician performing the service or other physician, which is a 99155 through a 99157. So take a moment, go into your CPT book manual, and look at these codes. Make you some notes, do some highlighting, and really, really, really get into that manual, because the more familiar you are with your manual, the more successful you're going to be at coding. So let's talk about the anesthesia section format. How is it formatted? By anatomical site and then by type. So for example, the anatomic site is the upper leg except for the knee, and the type is the hip joint. The CPT codes for anesthesia services include preoperative, intraoperative, and postoperative care. Anesthesia services are billed according to a standard formula for payment that is generally accepted throughout the United States. The formula is base units, time units, plus modifying factor times the conversion factor. So it's B plus T plus M times C. And I'm saying it that way because that's how you're going to see it in your book. Okay, I do not want you to get bogged down in this. Unless you're an anesthesia coder, this is not something that you need to worry too much about. If you become an anesthesia coder, you will have on-the-job training. It changes from Medicare to private insurances. So I don't want you to get bogged down into the base units, time units, and modifying units are the conversion factor. We need to know the general information, but we do not need to be experts in this. So again, B plus T plus M is base units, time units, and modifying units. That's your anesthesia formula. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our physical status modifier, P1 through P6. Okay, where do you find these? You're going to find them in your HCPCS manual, but you're also going to find them on the back of the front cover of your CPT manual, where all your other modifiers are. If you look on the right section, all the way at the top, you're going to see your physical status modifiers for anesthesia. The physical status modifier begins with the letter P and is followed by a single digit. So P1 is normal, healthy. P2 is mild systemic disease. P3 is severe systemic disease. P4 is severe systemic diseases and in constant threat to life. And P5 is not expected to survive without an operation. And P6 is brain dead. And these are all referring to anesthesia only. So that is our little mini lesson for today. Be expecting part 2 tomorrow. I hope you learned something. And again, don't get bogged down just by the words. As we start working through our chapter exercises, our review, and our workbook, you're going to be able to put these things into context and be prepared to do some anesthesia coding when we have our Zoom class on Thursday. Have a great day. And if you need anything, let me know. Bye-bye.